I think Marjorie Taylor Greene is a complete scammer, and she absolutely does not deserve the sympathy she's trying to extract from us. And that is exactly what she's doing. She's trying to manipulate you into feeling sorry for her. She's trying to get you to buy whatever book she's inevitably going to sell soon. She's trying to raise her national profile and distract all of us from the reality of who she truly is. Now, I'll admit, standing up to Donald Trump was commendable. Pushing for the release of the Epstein Files was commendable. But let's be crystal clear, Marjorie Taylor Greene is not our friend. And in this video, I want to break down why that's the case, especially in the context of her fleeing the country to supposedly escape Donald Trump. We are going to get into it all, but before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button because it goes a long way in supporting our work. Now you might be thinking, well, if she's doing that, doesn't that mean she's on our side? But I want to explain why that's absolutely not the case. Stick around for the whole video, including some key insights from AOC to understand why this is so important. It all begins with what Marjorie Taylor Greene said in this clip that went mega viral, where she talks about the threats she's received from Trump. Again, I know this might seem to contradict what I'm saying, but bear with me. We are going to get into it all right here.
I sent them to all these people. I got no response from Susie Wiles. None. And she's a mother and a grandmother and a woman. I got no response from James Blair because he only cares about making money on campaigns. I did hear from Kash Patel. He said on it, but I haven't heard from him since. I don't know what he's on. J.D. Vance was very nice to me, compassionate and kind, and reassured me that he would do everything we could to find out what's going on. And then I heard back from Donald Trump. And I've saved these text messages. I'd probably get put in jail if I released them publicly, but I saved them. Where Donald Trump proceeded to tell me that it was my fault and that I deserve it. If my son gets killed, I deserve it because I was a traitor to him. That is our President of the United States. That's the man that says MAGA is whatever he wants it to be.
I realize that if my theory is that Marjorie Taylor Greene isn't our friend and that we shouldn't really feel sorry for her, it's a tough case to make right after showing a video of her claiming that she and her children are receiving death threats, while Trump does nothing and actually says it's their own fault. But let me add this. If Marjorie Taylor Greene really does have those incriminating text messages, why on earth wouldn't she just share them? She claims, oh, I could go to jail for this. No, she won't. She can't. She's not going to. It's not going to happen. So what's the holdup? Why won't you release them? It makes you wonder. Maybe she doesn't actually have the texts. Or maybe she does and she's just not that interested in going all out. Or, more likely, she's saving them as a bombshell for her upcoming book. She could and absolutely should release them right this second. But something is clearly holding Marjorie Taylor Greene back. I don't know exactly what's stopping her from going after Donald Trump to her fullest potential. But honestly, she should be doing everything she can considering how long Donald Trump has been targeting her, specifically using the Secret Service. That's something I want to dive into before we talk about her fleeing the country and what AOC has to say about all of this. White House alerted Secret Service to Marjorie Taylor Greene after Trump's dinner humiliation. Insiders think something fishy went down at Joe's seafood restaurant back in September of 2025. The relationship between Donald Trump and one of his most fervent supporters grew so fraught, of course, that Secret Service was alerted. Marjorie Taylor Greene, MAGA's top defector, is suspected of setting up the president to be protested at a restaurant Greene suggested he visit, White House aides told Axios. The White House then tipped off the Secret Service about the alleged betrayal. Trump's visit to the popular lobbyist hangout, Joe's Seafood, in Washington, D.C. in September, as we might remember, was hijacked by activists who shouted, "Free DC, free Palestine, and Trump is the Hitler of our time," before they were hauled out. Trump visited the joint just minutes from the White House to prove how safe DC streets were amid his crime crackdown in the Capitol. But his trip to the restaurant, where a tuna steak costs more than $45, became a public relations disaster. And some White House insiders believe Marjorie Taylor Greene was the mastermind. The White House reportedly told Secret Service that Greene, one of Trump's fiercest allies, directly tipped off the anti-war activist group Code Pink that Trump would be at the restaurant. According to Axios, the claim is based on suspicion rather than evidence though, and Greene vehemently denied it. Greene told Axios that the claim that she had set the president up to be protested is an absolute lie, a dangerous lie. I would never do that. But White House insiders say that something fishy went down at Joe's Seafood, basing their hunch on two factors. The fact that Marjorie Taylor Greene recommended Joe's and her known relationship with Code Pink members. So you might remember how this played out. This goes back to late last year. Donald Trump visited that seafood restaurant and ended up getting protested right to his face. And because we covered that story and reported on what actually happened, the Secret Service started going after Marjorie Taylor Greene. So, we aren't just talking about the standard threats that Marjorie Taylor Greene gets from random Trump supporters. We're talking about targeting from within the administration itself. And that right there is why it appears she has officially fled the country. Looks like Marjorie Taylor Greene, Laura Loomer wrote, has been planning her escape from America for a while. In 2024, I reported how a source told me she bought a $5 million home in Costa Rica. Sources tell me Marjorie Taylor Greene just sold her home in Rome, Georgia and moved to Costa Rica with her boy toy, or her partner. All that insider trading sure paid off. She just posted this photo that we'll check out in a second of her new home in Costa Rica on Instagram. She abandoned her constituents and fled the country. Marjorie Taylor Greene showed this rather nice photo of her Costa Rica place and said, "I'm so thankful to start this new chapter with Brian Glenn." I don't know if that means they moved there. Brian Glenn just quit his job being a MAGA reporter, so maybe they're just hunkering down in Costa Rica. So, Marjorie Taylor Greene leaving the country. Look, I have a lot of thoughts on this. First off, I hate to even sound like I'm agreeing with someone like Laura Loomer, but I'm not. Loomer is just stating a plain fact here. Marjorie Taylor Greene has made a massive amount of money from being in Congress. She's been involved in a lot of insider trading, and she already had that family wealth to fall back on. Let's call her what she is, Marjorie Nepo Baby Greene. And again, I know some people are going to say, Liam, she's just protecting herself. She's trying to flee for her safety. Honestly, I don't buy it. This is a woman who has inspired, excused, encouraged, and stayed silent on so much political violence in this country. Remember, right after Donald Trump started attacking her, she was out there acting like, I just didn't realize how bad the rhetoric was. Then, literally 2 days later, Donald Trump says Mark Kelly should be hung in the street for telling troops not to follow illegal orders. And Marjorie Taylor Greene said absolutely nothing. Her silence was deafening. I don't trust her. I don't believe a word she says. And I am really tired of her being coddled as if she's some heroic figure standing up to Trump or that she suddenly found a moral compass. Now, I will acknowledge that people like Marjorie Taylor Greene, Tucker Carlson, or Candace Owens have, from a place that I don't think is sincere, talked about the crimes being committed by the Israeli government against the Palestinian people. They've talked about genocide. They've covered issues that typically aren't even touched by mainstream liberal media, and certainly not by enough Democrats. But let's be real, these people are not our friends. AOC made a comment about this that sparked a lot of controversy, and I want to play that clip and then break it down.
And I care about results. I care about results. Now, there are certain places certain areas where I don't think that we should ignore some folks' record on some of these issues, right? It's about where we trust intent, where we trust where those outcomes are going. I personally do not trust someone like Marjorie Taylor Greene, a proven bigot and anti-Semite, on the issues of what is good for Gazans and Israelis. I don't think that it benefits our movement in that instance to align the left with white nationalists. I don't think it serves us. And so I think it's about looking at the context, the place, the results, the outcomes, intentions, and where we think that train would go. But as far as what someone says about me, I could care less. And I think it's really about what our outcomes are. And to be honest, there are some areas where things will not get done if they're partisan because they are anti-establishment. There is bipartisan consensus on keeping and protecting stock trading in Congress. And so it's going to require massive bipartisan consensus of people willing to come together across those differences to get it done.
Now, there were a lot of people who responded to that clip of AOC by claiming she's being juvenile and that we need to welcome Marjorie Taylor Greene with open arms. Look, I'm not saying Marjorie Taylor Greene shouldn't be allowed to call out Donald Trump or attack the Republican Party and undermine them. I'm not saying that at all. But Marjorie Taylor Greene is not some triumphant hero. A lot of people are framing her, and I actually want to hear another clip from AOC on this in a second, as someone who sacrificed her entire political career. That is simply not true. Let's look at who else in the Republican Party supported the release of the Epstein Files. Lauren Boebert? Donald Trump literally called her into the Situation Room, and she's still on track to win re-election. Thomas Massie is cruising toward re-election. He's up 10 points even with $20 million being spent against him. Massie took the charge, and he didn't feel the need to resign from Congress. Nancy Mace might be the next governor of South Carolina. She's popular enough within MAGA to pull that off. Tim Burchett? You barely hear a peep about him being a MAGA traitor. All of these people voted to release the Epstein Files. No one is saying they gave up their careers. This sacrificial lamb narrative is a media spin that Marjorie Taylor Greene has carefully crafted herself. Why? Because she desperately wants to remain a national political figure. She has to be combative with the right so she can say, we need to establish a new MAGA, and then position herself as the champion of that new movement. She wants the crown. That is what Marjorie Taylor Greene is after. And why now? It's because she didn't get exactly what she wanted from Donald Trump. AOC gave the perfect insight into that reality, and we need to hear it right here.
Some tea for you. MTG, people are like, oh my God, she's saying all of these things. Like, what's gotten into her lately? Oh, like she's bucking against Trump. She's bucking against the administration. Marjorie Taylor Greene wanted to run for Senate in Georgia. She wanted to run for Senate earlier this year in the state of Georgia. She wanted to be the Republican nominee for Senate. So she was gearing up for that statewide race, and Trump told her no. Trump said no. And the White House and Trump land shut down Marjorie Taylor Greene's personal ambitions to run for Senate. And she has been on a revenge tour ever since.
AOC is spot on. And honestly, the criticism against her is just ridiculous when you realize she's seen through this from the very beginning. And I have to say, so did I. It's been obvious that Marjorie Taylor Greene and a lot of these MAGA women have been getting increasingly upset over the past year because they aren't being elevated into leadership or supported in their runs for higher office. Well, newsflash, it's a sexist party. Are you actually surprised? You signed up for this. You've spent your entire career in Republican politics actively hurting women, and now that it's coming back to bite you, suddenly you're outraged? AOC is exactly right. This shift from Marjorie Taylor Greene isn't a change of heart. It's a conscious, calculated effort to boost her own profile. I'm not going to sit here and tolerate this hero narrative. We are going to continue to call out the opportunists and the scammers on this show every single day. If you want to support the work we are doing, as always, please hit that subscribe button and leave a like on this video. And if you've stuck around with me until the very end, drop a blue heart in the comments so I can see who's in this fight with us. Keep on fighting, y'all. Don't let them silence you. And until next time, I'm Liam Prescott, and I'll see you in the next one.